There is a kind of tiredness that sleep does not fix. You wake and the heaviness is already there. Not dramatic, not a crisis, just a quiet weight that follows you through the day. You try to ignore it. You try to stay busy. But in the gaps between tasks, in the moments when your hands are still, you feel it again. Something is not quite right. Something aches. This is where many of us live, not in catastrophe, but in a low hum of dissatisfaction. The mind reaches for the next thing, hoping it will be different. The next conversation, the next accomplishment, the next distraction. And when that thing arrives, the reaching begins again. It is exhausting. And it is so ordinary that we barely notice it anymore. The Buddha had a word for this, dukkha. It is often translated as suffering, but that word can sound too large, too final. Dukkha is closer to unsatisfactoriness, a subtle friction. The way a wheel wobbles when the axle is not quite centered, you can still move forward, you can still function. But there is a persistent unevenness beneath everything. When we first hear this, it can feel like bad news. If life is characterized by this friction, this dissatisfaction, then what hope is there? It sounds pessimistic. It sounds like a teaching that asks us to see everything as broken. But this is not what the Buddha was saying. He was not asking us to become cynical or to turn away from life. He was asking us to look clearly at what is already happening. Think of a river. If you stand on the bank and watch the water, you see it moving, always moving. The surface shifts with light and shadow. Leaves float by, branches catch and release. The river does not apologize for this. It does not pretend to be still. It simply moves, and in that movement, it is honest. Our lives are like this, constantly changing, constantly in motion. And yet we expect stillness. We expect things to stay. We expect the people we love to remain exactly as they are. We expect our bodies to cooperate. We expect our feelings to be manageable and our thoughts to be kind. When these expectations meet the actual movement of life, there is friction, there is dukkha. To see this clearly is not pessimism, it is realism, it is the beginning of wisdom. Right now, as you listen, you can feel your breath. It comes in, it goes out. You do not have to make it happen, it is already happening. Notice the coolness as air enters, notice the warmth as it leaves. This breath will not come again. The next breath will be different. And the next. This is not sad. This is simply true. Your body is here. Perhaps there is tension in your shoulders. Perhaps your jaw is tight. Perhaps your hands are folded or resting somewhere. Whatever is present, it is changing. Even now, cells are renewing, sensations are shifting, nothing is frozen. The body, like the river, is always in motion. And the mind. The mind is moving too. A thought arises, it passes, a sound reaches your ear. It fades, a feeling brushes through, it does not stay. We spend so much energy trying to hold on to the pleasant and push away the unpleasant. But the river does not hold, it lets everything pass through. When the Buddha spoke about dukkha, he was not asking us to despair. He was offering a way to stop fighting the river, to stop pretending it should be still. He was saying, look at this, see it clearly. And in that clear seeing, something shifts. Not because we have fixed anything, not because we have achieved some perfect state, but because we have stopped demanding that life be other than it is. This does not mean we become passive. It does not mean we stop caring or stop trying to reduce harm. It means we stop adding a second layer of suffering on top of the first. The first layer is the river itself, the movement, the change, the fact that things arise and pass. The second layer is our resistance to this, our insistence that it should not be this way, our belief that if we just try hard enough, we can make the river stop. You cannot make the river stop, but you can stop fighting it. You can stand on the bank and watch. You can even step into the water and feel it move around you. You can notice how it holds you and how it lets you go. So we begin here, not with answers, not with solutions, but with a simple willingness to see, to notice what is present without immediately trying to change it, to feel the breath, to sense the body, to hear the sounds around you, to let the river be a river. And in this noticing, something becomes available. Not peace necessarily, not bliss, but a kind of steadiness, a way of being with what is. This is the practice, not a rejection of life, but a fuller participation in it. There's a moment that comes quietly, often late at night or early in the morning. You notice a tightness in your chest, or a worry circling your mind, or the dull ache of something you can't fix. And beneath the discomfort itself, there's a second layer, a feeling that something has gone wrong with you, that you shouldn't be feeling this way, that if you were doing life correctly, this wouldn't be here. This second layer is where we lose our footing. The Buddha spoke about suffering with a kind of clarity that can feel startling at first. He didn't say life was broken. He said pain is woven into the fabric of being alive. Bodies age. Circumstances change. We lose what we love. We encounter what we don't want. This isn't pessimism, it's just looking directly at what's true. But here's the part that matters. Pain is inevitable, but the way we hold it determines whether it becomes suffering. Think of a hand holding a stone. If you grip it tightly, your fingers cramp, your palm aches. The stone becomes a burden, something you're fighting against. But if you hold it lightly, you simply feel its weight. The stone is still there. It hasn't changed. What changes is the quality of your holding. This is not a metaphor about letting go. It's about noticing how we grip. When discomfort arrives, physical pain, disappointment, fear, we often clench around it. We resist. We tell ourselves it shouldn't be here. We imagine that other people don't feel this way. We make the pain mean something about our worth, our competence, our future. And in that clenching, the original discomfort multiplies. It becomes a story. It becomes shame. It becomes a weight we carry in our fists. The teaching isn't asking you to stop feeling pain. It's inviting you to notice what you add to it. You can feel sadness without deciding you're broken. You can feel frustration without turning it into evidence of failure. You can feel physical discomfort without needing it to mean something larger than it is. This is the difference between pain and suffering. Pain is the stone, suffering is the grip. And here's what might surprise you. When you stop gripping, the pain doesn't always disappear. Sometimes it stays exactly as it is. But the quality of your experience shifts. There's space around it. You're no longer at war with what's happening. This isn't about becoming numb. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about meeting your experience with a little less resistance, a little more room. So here's something small you can try. Just once today, notice a moment when you're resisting discomfort. It might be a tense shoulder, a difficult conversation, a feeling you don't want to feel. And when you notice it, name it quietly to yourself. Just 3 words. This is resistance. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to let it go. Just name it. Feel what it's like to recognize the grip. That's all. That small act of naming creates a gap, a breath of space between the pain and the story you're telling about it. And in that gap, something softens. This is how you begin to understand that suffering and pessimism are not the same thing. Pessimism says everything is hopeless. Suffering says, I'm clenching around what hurts. One closes down. The other simply sees. When you see clearly, you're not giving up. You're not resigning yourself to misery. You're recognizing that pain is part of the weather of being human. And you're learning gradually to hold it differently. The stone is still a stone, but your hand can open. There's a heaviness that can settle in when we first hear the Buddha's teaching on suffering. We hear the word and something in us recoils. It sounds like a verdict. It sounds like the teaching is saying that life itself is broken, that joy is an illusion, that we should give up hoping for anything good. This misreading can make the whole path feel like a slow resignation to despair. But that's not what the teaching says. The Pali word is dukkha. It's often translated as suffering, but the meaning is wider and softer than that. Dukkha points to unsatisfactoriness. It points to the quality of instability that runs through all conditioned things. Not because they're flawed, not because something went wrong, but because they cannot stay still. This is not a judgment, it's a description. When the Buddha spoke of dukkha, he wasn't condemning existence. He was pointing to something we can see for ourselves if we look closely. Everything that arises passes away. Everything that comes together eventually comes apart. Pleasure fades. Pain fades. Thoughts dissolve. Moods shift. The body changes. Relationships change. Even the sense of who we are flickers and moves. None of this means life is worthless. It means life is impermanent. Think of a river. The water is always moving. You can stand at the bank and watch it flow, but you can't step into the same river twice. The current that touched your foot a moment ago is already downstream. What looks like one continuous thing is actually an endless series of arrivals and departures. This isn't tragic, it's just true. The suffering comes not from the movement itself, but from our attempt to hold the river still. We find something we love, a feeling, a moment, a person, a version of ourselves, and we want it to stay exactly as it is. We clench around it. We tell ourselves that if we can just keep this one thing from changing, we'll be safe. But the river keeps moving, and when it does, we feel betrayed. We feel like something has been taken from us. We feel the ache of loss, the frustration of things not going according to plan, the low hum of dissatisfaction that we can't quite name. That ache is dukkha, not because life is terrible, but because we're asking the impossible. We're asking the changing to stop changing. The teaching invites us to see this clearly, not to fix it, not to transcend it, just to see it. You can try this now if you like. Bring to mind one thing you're holding tightly. It might be a hope for how someone will respond to you. It might be a plan for tomorrow. It might be the way your body felt 10 years ago, or the way a friendship used to be. It might even be the mood you're in right now. Hold it gently in your awareness. Then ask quietly, can this stay exactly as it is forever? Not should it. Not do I want it to. Just can it? The answer will come on its own. You don't need to force it. You don't need to believe anything. Just notice what's true. If the answer is no, that's not bad news. It's just what's happening. The river is moving. It always has been. When we stop asking the river to be a stone, something shifts. The clinging loosens. We can still care. We can still love. We can still hope and plan and enjoy what's here. But we're not gripping so hard. We're not building our whole sense of safety on something that was never meant to stay still. This is what the teaching on dukkha offers. Not pessimism, not despair, just a clearer view. When we see impermanence as it is, not as a threat, but as the nature of things, we stop fighting what we can't control. We stop blaming ourselves when things change. We stop feeling like we failed when the river keeps flowing. Dukkha is not a condemnation, it's a description. And when we see it that way, the heaviness begins to lift. There is a kind of pain that comes not from the hurt itself, but from the belief that noticing the hurt means drowning in it. You feel sadness and think, if I really look at this, I'll never get out. You sense anger rising and turn away quickly, afraid that seeing it clearly will make you cruel or broken. So you glance at suffering sideways, never quite looking, never quite turning away, caught in a strange half-attention that exhausts you. This is not wisdom. This is fear wearing the mask of protection. The Buddha spoke often about suffering, and people sometimes hear his teaching as dark or hopeless. But he was not asking you to become suffering. He was asking you to see it clearly, the way you might see a wave from the shore. There is a Zen teaching that says to see the mud clearly is not to become the mud. You can know what is present without being swallowed by it. Imagine standing at the edge of the ocean during a storm. The waves are high and rough. The water churns with force. You can see all of this. You can feel the spray on your face, hear the crash and pull of the tide. But you are not underwater. Your feet are on solid ground. The storm is real. Your awareness of it is also real. And there is space between the two. This is what changes when you stop confusing observation with immersion. You begin to notice that you can feel lonely without being loneliness itself. You can watch frustration move through your chest without deciding that you are a frustrated person. The feeling is there. You are here. Both are true. Awareness does not amplify pain. It gives pain room to be what it is, which is temporary, specific, and workable. When you turn toward a difficult feeling without trying to fix it or run from it, something unexpected happens. The feeling does not grow larger. It becomes more defined. You see its edges. You notice where it lives in your body. You sense how it shifts moment to moment. This is not resignation. This is clarity. Here is a practice you can try. Something small and direct. Sit somewhere quiet for 3 minutes. Let your body settle. Bring to mind one difficult feeling you have been carrying. It does not need to be the hardest thing. Just something real. Maybe it is worry. Maybe it is guilt or restlessness or grief. Do not try to understand it. Do not try to solve it. Just watch it the way you would watch a bird in a tree. Notice where you feel it in your body. Is it in your throat, your chest, your belly? Does it have a temperature, a weight? Does it stay still or does it move? If your mind says this is too much, notice that thought. If your body wants to turn away, notice that urge. You are not forcing yourself to stay with pain. You are simply seeing what happens when you do not immediately flee. You may find that the feeling softens. You may find that it stays exactly as it is. Either way, you are learning something essential. You are learning that you can be with what is difficult without becoming it. You are standing on the shore, watching the waves. The space between you and the feeling is awareness itself. It is not empty. It is alive, steady and kind. It does not need you to be different than you are. It simply sees. When you finish, you do not need to decide anything. You do not need to feel better or fixed. You have done something quiet and true. You have looked at the mud without stepping into it. That is enough. There is a difference between pain and suffering. Pain arrives on its own. Suffering is what we build around it. You stub your toe in the dark. For a moment, there is just the sharp brightness of sensation. Then, almost instantly, the mind begins to move. Why didn't I turn on the light? I'm always doing this. My whole day is ruined now. The pain in your toe has not changed, but now you are carrying something much heavier. The Buddha spoke of 2 arrows. The first arrow is the pain itself, the stubbed toe, the aching back, the difficult conversation, the loss. This arrow we do not choose. It is part of living in a body, in a world where things change and break and end. The second arrow is the one we shoot at ourselves. It is the story we tell about the pain, the blame, the fear that it will never end, the belief that it means something terrible about who we are. Most of our suffering lives in that second arrow. Think of a thorn in your foot. The thorn itself is small. It hurts, yes, but then the mind begins to spin. How did I miss it? I should have been more careful. Now I'll have to stop walking. I'll fall behind. Everyone will notice. What if it gets infected? What if this always happens to me? What if I'm the kind of person who always steps on thorns? The thorn has not grown, but the suffering has. This is not about pretending pain doesn't hurt. It does. The body feels what it feels. But notice how quickly we move from sensation to story, from this moment to all moments, from this pain, my broken life, my proof that something is deeply wrong. Craving does this. Not just the wanting of pleasant things, but the deep pull to make experience mean something fixed, to turn a moment of pain into evidence, to make it personal, to make it permanent. When you sit quietly and pain arises, a tightness in the chest, a knot in the stomach, you can begin to notice the difference. First, there is the raw feeling: pressure, heat, throbbing, tightness. This is the first arrow. It is just sensation moving and changing in the body. Then, if you stay a little longer, you notice the second layer. The thoughts that arrive so fast, they seem to be part of the pain itself. This shouldn't be happening. I can't handle this. It's getting worse. Something is wrong with me. These thoughts are not the pain. They are the story about the pain. They are the second arrow. You do not need to fight the story. You do not need to shame yourself for having it. Just notice it is there. Notice that it is different from the sensation itself. The practice is simple. When pain arises, physical or emotional, pause. Feel the bare sensation first. Where is it in the body? Is it sharp or dull? Does it pulse or press or burn? Stay with the direct experience for a breath or two, just the sensation, not yet the meaning. Then notice what the mind is saying about it. Notice the narrative beginning to form. You do not have to believe it or reject it. Just see that it is there. See that it is separate from the feeling itself. This is not a trick to make pain go away. Pain will still hurt. But you may begin to notice that much of what you thought was pain is actually the weight of the story. The thorn is still a thorn. But you are no longer carrying the entire tale of every thorn you have ever stepped on, and every thorn you fear you will step on tomorrow. The sensation itself is workable. It rises and it changes. It has texture and location. It is not as solid as it seems, but the story makes it feel permanent. The story makes it feel like you. When you can feel the difference between the first arrow and the second, something shifts. Not all at once, not forever. But in that moment, there is a little more space, a little more room to breathe. The suffering loosens even if the pain remains. You begin to see that you are not broken. You are just alive in a body that feels, in a mind that tells stories. And you can meet both with a quieter attention. There is a kind of fear that comes when we touch loss, not the sharp fear of danger, but something quieter and older. The fear that if we really let ourselves feel what hurts, we will fall into it and never return. So we make a choice, often without knowing. We turn away from the ache, or we let it fill every corner until we cannot see anything else. Both feel like protection. Both feel necessary, and both leave us alone with the weight. There is a teaching that comes from the Mahayana tradition, spoken in different ways across centuries. It says that compassion sees suffering fully and does not turn away, and yet it does not become suffering itself. This is not about being strong. It is not about rising above or transcending. It is something quieter than that. Imagine a bowl that holds water. The bowl touches the water completely. It contains it, supports it, knows its weight. But the bowl does not become the water. It does not dissolve. It remains what it is while holding what is there. This is what compassion does with sorrow. You can sit with grief without being erased by it. You can feel the full truth of what you have lost without disappearing into the loss. The bowl does not refuse the water. It does not say, "I will only hold a little." And it does not merge with the water and lose its shape. It simply holds. There is space for both, the grief and the one who grieves. If you would like, you can try something small. Place one hand on your heart. Feel the warmth there, or the slight pressure, or just the fact of contact. Breathe in, breathe out. Now bring to mind one thing you are grieving, not everything, just one thing. It does not have to be large. It can be a small loss, a quiet disappointment, something unfinished. Let it be there. You do not need to solve it. You do not need to make it smaller or push it away. You do not need to sink into it either. Just breathe with it, your hand on your heart. The grief present, you present. Notice if there is a pull to fix it or to flee. Notice if the sorrow tries to become all of you. And notice that you can feel it without doing either. The bowl holds the water. You may feel the edges of the grief more clearly this way, its texture, its temperature, where it sits in your body. And you may also feel that you are still here, breathing, aware, not dissolved. This is not detachment. This is not coldness. It is the opposite. It is full presence without collapse. Compassion does not say, "This does not hurt." It says, "This hurts, and I am here with it." The breath continues. The heart beats. The sorrow moves or stays. And you remain, holding it the way the bowl holds water. There is no need to rush this. No need to arrive anywhere. Just this moment of being with what is true, without being destroyed by it. You may have noticed how much energy it takes to think about suffering. Not the suffering itself, but the thinking about it, the turning it over, the trying to understand where it came from and what it means and whether you're handling it correctly. There's a belief that understanding requires constant examination, that if you stop analyzing, you'll miss something important. So the mind keeps working. It reviews the past. It rehearses conversations. It searches for patterns and explanations. And this searching becomes its own kind of tiredness. The Zen tradition offers something unexpected here. Sometimes the teaching is simply to breathe and let the mind rest, not because understanding doesn't matter, but because understanding doesn't always come from effort. There's a difference between awareness and analysis. Awareness is direct. It sees what's here. Analysis is a step removed. It thinks about what's here. Both have their place. But when analysis runs without pause, it becomes noise. Think of music for a moment, not the notes themselves, but the silence between them. That pause is not empty. It's part of the song. Without it, the melody collapses into sound without shape. The silence gives the notes room to land. It lets them be heard. Your mind is like this too. It needs pauses, not as a break from understanding, but as part of it. The space between thoughts is where things settle, where what you've seen can actually be absorbed. You don't have to solve everything right now. That sentence might feel strange. There's often a quiet panic that rises when you consider stopping. As if the moment you let go of figuring it out, something will fall apart. But notice what's actually happening. The suffering you're examining is already here. The thinking hasn't made it go away. It's just added another layer. What if you could see suffering clearly without exhausting yourself in the process? This isn't about ignoring pain or pretending things are fine. It's about recognizing that the mind's constant churning is not the same as wisdom. Wisdom is quieter. It arises when you stop demanding it. Here's something small you can try. Take 5 breaths. Just 5. Don't try to figure anything out while you do this. Don't analyze your breathing or your posture or whether you're doing it right. Just breathe. Let the inhale come. Let the exhale go. 5 times. If thoughts arise, that's fine, they will. You don't need to push them away, just don't follow them into their stories. Come back to the breath, not as a task, just as a place to rest. The first breath, air moving in. The second breath, air moving out. The third, the body breathing itself. The fourth, nothing to solve here. The fifth, just this. You might notice something shift. Not a big revelation, just a small easing. The grip loosens slightly. The urgency fades. This is the silence between the notes. This is the pause that lets the song be heard. Understanding suffering doesn't require constant vigilance. It requires moments of clear seeing. And clear seeing happens more easily when the mind is not wound tight with effort. You can return to this anytime. 5 breaths, no agenda, no analysis, just the simple fact of breathing. The mind will want to jump back into problem solving. That's what it does, but you can notice that pull without obeying it. You can choose the pause. This is not avoidance. This is skillful rest, the kind that makes actual understanding possible. Because when the mind is quiet, it sees more clearly. It notices what's actually present instead of what it thinks should be present. It stops arguing with reality long enough to perceive it. The relief you might feel right now is real. It's not a trick. It's what happens when you stop carrying what doesn't need to be carried in this moment. The suffering you were examining will still be there if you need to look at it again. But you don't need to hold it every second. You can put it down. You can breathe. 5 breaths, that's all. Let everything else wait. You have probably noticed how much energy it takes to resist what is already happening. A tension in your shoulders, a difficult conversation you keep replaying, the sound of traffic outside your window. These things are here, and yet some part of you keeps pushing against them, as if the pushing might make them disappear. It does not make them disappear. It only adds a second layer of suffering on top of the first. The Buddha spoke often about this. He called it dukkha, which we usually translate as suffering, but which also means friction, resistance, the grinding of gears that do not fit. The original pain might be small, a mild headache, a moment of loneliness. But when we add our refusal to it, when we tighten around it and say, "This should not be here," the pain doubles. This is not pessimism, this is just observation. You can see it for yourself. There is a teaching in the early texts that says acceptance is not agreement. It is simply seeing what is true without adding struggle to it. You do not have to like what is happening. You do not have to call it good. You only have to stop pretending it is not already here. Think of swimming in a river with a strong current. If you fight the current head-on, you will exhaust yourself quickly. Your arms will burn, your breath will shorten, you might even panic. But if you turn your body sideways and let the current carry you at an angle, you can reach the shore with much less effort. The current does not change. Your relationship to it does. Acceptance works the same way. The discomfort is the current. It is already moving through you. When you clench against it, you use all your strength just to stay in place. When you stop clenching, you can move. This does not mean you become passive. It means you stop wasting energy on a fight that cannot be won. You cannot argue with what is already true. The tension is in your shoulders. The thought is in your mind. The sound is in the room. These are facts, at least for this moment. Resisting them does not make you strong. It makes you tired. You might worry that acceptance means giving up, that if you stop fighting, you will collapse. But the opposite is true. When you stop using all your energy to push away what is here, you have energy left for what actually helps. You can breathe, you can soften, you can choose a response that is not just reaction. The practice is very simple. Choose one small discomfort today, not the largest one, not the thing that feels unbearable, just something minor, a slight ache in your back, the hum of the refrigerator, a flicker of impatience. For 60 seconds, do not push it away. Do not try to fix it or explain it or make it stop. Just let it be exactly as it is. Notice where you feel it. Notice the urge to make it different. And then, very gently, let that urge relax. You are not agreeing that the discomfort is good. You are not saying it should stay forever. You are only acknowledging that right now, in this moment, it is here, and your resistance to it is optional. 60 seconds, that is all. You might notice that the discomfort itself does not grow larger when you stop fighting it. Sometimes it even softens, but more importantly, you might notice that you feel less drained. The current is still there, but you are no longer swimming directly against it. This is what the teaching points to. Acceptance does not add to your burden, it lightens it. When you stop carrying the weight of your refusal, you find you've been holding something you could have set down all along. We spend so much energy trying to hold things in place. A relationship that felt solid last year, a body that moved easily just months ago, a mood we woke up with this morning that has already shifted by noon. We grip tightly, as if our effort could freeze the moment, and when things change anyway, we feel betrayed. This is where suffering deepens. Not in the change itself, but in our insistence that change should not be happening. The Buddha spoke plainly about this. All conditioned things are impermanent, he said. Strive on with diligence, but do not expect them to last. He was not being grim. He was pointing to something we can see for ourselves if we look closely. Everything that arises, passes. Everything assembled will come apart. This is not a flaw in the world. This is how the world works. Imagine trying to build a house on the surface of the ocean. You gather your materials, you lay the foundation, you work carefully, with real skill. But the waves keep moving. They do not stop for your project. They do not care how much effort you have put in. The surface will not hold still. This is what we are doing when we expect permanence. We are building on water and then feeling shocked when the structure sways. The insight here is not that we should stop building. We still live, we still love, we still work and rest and care for what matters. But we can stop expecting the waves to freeze. We can stop blaming the ocean for being an ocean. When you see impermanence clearly, something loosens. You stop fighting the basic nature of experience. You stop adding a second layer of suffering on top of the first. Things still change. You still feel loss, but you are not also carrying the weight of betrayal, the story that this should not be happening. Notice 3 things today that have already changed since this morning. Not big things necessarily. The light in the room, the temperature of your tea, the tightness in your shoulder that was there earlier and is not there now, or was not there earlier and is there now. Your energy level, the expression on someone's face. Do not analyze this. Just notice. Let the noticing be simple. You are not looking for proof of a concept. You are looking directly at what is already happening. Change is not waiting for permission. It is already here, moving through every moment. When you see this enough times, the grip softens. You stop needing the world to be other than it is. You stop needing your own experience to hold still. There is a strange relief in this. Not the relief of getting what you want, but the relief of no longer demanding that the ocean stop moving. You can still build. You can still care. But you build knowing the waves are waves. You care knowing that what you care for will also change. This is not pessimism, this is accuracy. And accuracy, it turns out, is kinder than hope that depends on things staying frozen. The suffering eases when you stop expecting permanence. Not because you have given up, but because you have stopped arguing with the way things are. When pain arrives, something in us tightens around it. A headache becomes my headache. A disappointment becomes my failure. Loneliness wraps itself around the word I, and suddenly the feeling has weight, history, permanence. We don't just experience suffering, we claim it. We make it ours. This claiming happens so quickly we don't notice it. The sensation arises, and before we've even felt it clearly, we've already decided who it's happening to. Me. The one who always gets headaches, the one who fails, the one nobody understands. The story arrives with the pain, and the two become tangled. But when you look closely at what's actually happening, something shifts. There's the sensation itself, sharp or dull or aching. There's the thought about the sensation. There's the feeling of resistance or fear. And if you stay very still and very honest, you notice these are separate events. They arise, they change, they pass. But where is the solid self they're all supposed to belong to? The early Buddhist teachings point to this again and again. When you search for the one who suffers, you find sensations, thoughts and feelings, but no owner, no fixed center that holds it all. Just experience, moving. Think of a river. We give it a name. We say the river is wide or fast or clear. But if you try to find the river itself, what do you find? Water flowing. Stones beneath. Light on the surface, movement. No single drop is the river. The river is not a thing, it's a process. It's what we call the flow when we step back and name it. Your experience is like this. Sensations flow through, thoughts appear and dissolve. Feelings rise and fall. We call this collection a self, but when you look directly, there's just the flowing. The pain is real, the sadness is real. But the story of a permanent me who owns them is something added. This isn't philosophy. You can test it. When pain arises, physical or emotional, pause. Don't push it away. Don't analyze it. Just notice it. Feel where it lives in the body. Notice the texture of it. And then ask very quietly, almost as if you're listening, rather than asking, who is this happening to? Don't rush to answer. Let the question sit. Look for the one who hurts. You might find tension in the chest. You might find a thought that says, I can't handle this. You might find an image of yourself, small and overwhelmed. But can you find an actual, solid self beneath all that? Or just more sensations, more thoughts, more movement? Sometimes when you ask this question, the pain doesn't go away, but something around it loosens. The tightness, the claim, the sense of being trapped inside it. The suffering is still there, but it's no longer so heavy. It's an event. A weather pattern moving through. Not who you are. This doesn't mean you ignore pain or pretend it doesn't matter. It means you stop adding the second layer, the story that makes it personal and permanent. The headache is just throbbing. The disappointment is just a sinking feeling. They hurt, yes. But they're not proof of a broken self. They're just what's happening right now. The river keeps flowing. No drop stays in place. Nothing in it is permanent, and yet the river is still here, still moving, still real. You are like this, always changing, always flowing. The pain that feels so solid and so yours is also changing, also flowing. When you see this clearly, even for a moment, suffering becomes lighter. Not because you've escaped it, but because you've stopped being tangled in it. You've stopped making it mean something about who you are. It's just an experience, arising, changing, passing. And you, the one watching, are also just this, arising, changing, passing. The question remains available. Who is this happening to? You don't need an answer, you just need to look. When you first begin to practice awareness, you might notice something unexpected. The more clearly you see your own pain, the heavier it can feel. You sit down to observe your thoughts, and what arrives is worry, restlessness, old grief. You watch your reactions during the day, and you see how often you're caught in fear or wanting. It can start to feel like the practice itself is making things worse. This is a common place to get stuck. You think awareness means feeling everything more intensely. You think seeing suffering means drowning in it. But there's a teaching from the Zen tradition that points to something different. The sky is not touched by the clouds that pass through it. The clouds come, they darken, they break open with rain, and still the sky remains sky. It holds the storm without becoming the storm. Your awareness is like this. It can hold pain without being damaged by pain. It can notice fear without becoming fearful. The content of your experience changes constantly, but the capacity to notice, that ground of awareness itself, remains steady. Think of the deep ocean floor. Down there, far below the surface, the water is calm and still. Above, waves might crash, storms might churn the surface into chaos. But the depth is untouched. The turbulence doesn't reach all the way down. You are not only the waves. You are also the depth. When you sit and observe your thoughts, you might notice sadness moving through. You might notice tension in your chest or tightness in your jaw. These are real. They matter. But notice also that you are the one observing them. The sadness is seen, the tension is felt. And the seeing, the feeling, that awareness itself is not sad. It is not tense. It simply notices. This is not about detachment. It's not about pretending the pain isn't there. You're not trying to rise above your experience or float away from it. You're recognizing that awareness has a different quality than the things it's aware of. Thoughts come and go. Emotions rise and fall. But the noticing remains. You can practice this now, wherever you are. Sit for a moment and let your attention settle. Notice your breath, just as it is. Don't try to change it. Just feel it moving in and out. Now notice a thought. Any thought. It might be about what you're doing later, or something you said yesterday, or the sound outside your window. Watch it arrive. Watch it linger or shift or fade. And notice that you are watching it. You are not inside the thought. You are the space in which the thought appears. Let another thought come. Notice it too. See how it moves through awareness, the way a cloud moves through sky. The thought is not you. The awareness is closer to what you are. If a difficult feeling arises, sadness or frustration or fear, let it be there. Don't push it away. But also notice the quality of the awareness that holds it. The feeling might be sharp or heavy. The awareness is spacious. The feeling might pulse or tighten. The awareness remains open. This is equanimity. Not the absence of feeling, but the steadiness that holds all feeling. You can be aware of suffering without being destroyed by it. You can see clearly without losing your ground. The practice is simple. Sit and notice. Thoughts come and go. Feelings rise and fall. Sensations appear and dissolve. And through it all, the noticing continues. Steady, unshaken. Like the ocean floor beneath the waves. You don't have to make this happen. You're not creating the awareness. You're recognizing what's already here. It's been here all along, holding every experience you've ever had. You've just been looking at the clouds and forgetting the sky. When you rest here, in this ground of awareness, suffering doesn't disappear. But it changes. It becomes something you can hold rather than something that holds you. You see it clearly, and the seeing itself is calm. You notice you're struggling. Maybe it's a mistake you made, or a conversation that didn't go well. Maybe it's just the weight of the day settling into your chest. And almost immediately, something inside you tightens. A voice arrives, sharp, impatient. You should have known better. Why can't you just handle this? What's wrong with you? This is where the second suffering begins. The first is simply what happened. The second is what we do to ourselves about it. We think we're being honest when we speak harshly to ourselves. We think we're staying accountable or realistic or strong. But watch what actually happens in the body when that voice comes. The shoulders pull in, the breath gets shallow. The mind begins to loop, searching for what's broken, what needs fixing, what should be different. This isn't clarity. This is cruelty, dressed as truth. There's an old teaching from the Mahayana tradition. It says to meet your suffering as you would meet a frightened child, with gentleness, not judgment, not with answers or corrections, not with a plan to make the fear go away, just with presence, just with warmth. A frightened child doesn't need to be told they shouldn't be afraid. They need to know they're not alone. Your suffering is like that. It arrives because something hurts. Something feels uncertain or raw or too much. And when you meet it with harshness, you're telling that part of you to be quiet, to be smaller, to not take up space. You're adding isolation to pain. Gentleness doesn't mean pretending nothing is wrong. It doesn't mean lowering your standards or giving up. It means recognizing that you are already carrying something difficult and that cruelty won't make it lighter. Imagine a warm blanket placed over cold shoulders. The blanket doesn't fix the cold. It doesn't change the temperature of the room, but it softens the experience. It says, I see that you're cold. It says, you don't have to endure this alone. Self-compassion works the same way. It doesn't erase what's hard, but it changes the atmosphere around it. It makes space for you to be human, to be imperfect, to be in process. This isn't weakness. It takes more strength to stay open when you're hurting than it does to shut down. It takes more courage to speak kindly to yourself than to rehearse the same old script of not enough. You can try this today. Just once. When you notice you're struggling, when the tightness comes, when the harsh voice starts, pause. Take one breath, and then speak one kind sentence to yourself. It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to feel true yet. It just has to be kind. You could say, this is hard right now, or I'm doing the best I can, or even just, I see you. Notice what happens when you do this. Notice if the body softens, even slightly. Notice if the breath deepens. Notice if the mind stops circling quite so fast. You're not trying to fix anything. You're just offering yourself the same warmth you would offer someone you care about. You're practicing meeting your own experience without adding more weight to it. This is the beginning of compassion. Not as an idea, but as a felt shift. Not as something you achieve, but as something you allow. The cold might still be there. The difficulty might not go away. But you're no longer facing it with your fists clenched. You're facing it with your hands open. That openness is not resignation, it's strength. It's the strength to stay present with what is without needing to punish yourself for it. One kind sentence. That's all. Just once today. Let it land softly, like a blanket over cold shoulders. Let it remind you that you don't have to be hard to be whole. There is a kind of looking away we do without knowing it. We sense something painful in ourselves or in the world, and before we can even name it, we turn our attention elsewhere. We reach for our phones. We plan the next thing. We tell ourselves a story that makes the discomfort smaller or farther away. This happens so quickly that we don't always notice we've done it. The fear underneath is simple. If I look directly at what hurts, I will be crushed by it. If I see how much suffering there is, I won't be able to go on. Better to keep my gaze soft, unfocused, moving. But this turning away has a cost. When we refuse to see clearly, we stumble. We make the same mistakes again and again. We carry tension we don't understand. We feel a vague unease that never quite resolves because we never quite meet it. The Buddha did not teach pessimism. He taught something quieter and more useful. The path is not about escaping life, but seeing it clearly and walking through it with wisdom. This is not the same as dwelling on pain or cataloguing every difficulty. It is simply the willingness to look. Imagine walking a trail at dawn. The light is still soft, but it's enough to see by. You can make out the rocks in the path, the roots that cross it, the places where the ground dips or rises. Because you see these things, you step carefully. You don't trip. You don't twist an ankle. The trail is still the trail with all its unevenness, but you move through it with more ease. This is what clear seeing offers. Not a world without rocks and roots, but a way of walking that meets them as they are. When we look at suffering directly, something unexpected happens. We notice that it changes. A sharp pain becomes dull, then fades. A heavy sadness shifts, lightens, returns in a different form. Even the hardest truths are not solid. They move. They breathe. And in seeing this, we find we are not as fragile as we feared. We also begin to notice what else is present. The suffering is real, but so is the warmth of sunlight. The loneliness is real, but so is the kindness of a stranger. The fear is real, but so is the steadiness of breath. When we stop looking away, we see all of it, not just the hard parts, all of it. This is not about forcing yourself to stare at pain. It is about allowing your attention to rest on what is actually here, without immediately deciding it's too much or not enough. Just this, just now, just what is. The practice is small. Tonight, or whenever this day ends for you, notice one hard truth, not the hardest truth you can imagine. Just one true thing that is difficult. Maybe it's that you feel alone. Maybe it's that your body aches. Maybe it's that you said something you regret. Let yourself see it. Don't fix it. Don't explain it away. Just see it. Then notice one beautiful truth. Something that is also here, also real. The softness of the blanket. The quiet in the room. The fact that you are still breathing. Still here. Still capable of noticing. Let yourself see this too. Hold both. Not as opposites that cancel each other out, but as two true things that exist at the same time. The trail has rocks. The trail also has light. Both are real. Both matter. This is how clarity and hope live together. Not because we pretend the rocks aren't there, but because we see them and keep walking anyway. Not because we ignore the light, but because we let it guide us, even when the path is uneven. You don't have to do this perfectly. You don't have to see everything all at once. Just one hard truth, one beautiful truth. Both held gently in your awareness as the day ends. This is enough. This is the beginning of walking through life with your eyes open and finding that you are steadier than you knew. There is a difference between seeing suffering clearly and collapsing under its weight. The Buddha did not teach despair. He taught recognition. When you understand that pain is woven into the fabric of conditioned existence, you are not being asked to give up. You are being invited to stop pretending that clinging will save you. This understanding does not arrive once and stay forever. It returns in waves. Some days you see it plainly. Other days the mind forgets and reaches again for what cannot be held. Both are part of the path. The practice is not about perfection. It is about returning. You notice the grasping. You feel the tightness in the chest, the urgency in the thoughts. And then, without drama, you let the hand open a little. Impermanence is not a threat. It is the condition that allows anything to move, to heal, to change. The same law that takes things away also lets pain pass. It lets old patterns loosen. It makes space for something new to breathe. When you stop fighting this truth, a tenderness can emerge. You begin to hold your own experience more gently. You stop demanding that life be other than it is. This does not mean you become passive. Compassion is not passivity. You can still care deeply. You can still work to reduce harm, to ease suffering where you find it. But you do it from a different place, not from panic, not from the belief that you can control every outcome. You act because it matters, and then you release the results. You do what is yours to do, and you let the rest unfold. The mind will still produce stories. It will still compare, worry, plan. This is what minds do. But you do not have to believe every narrative it offers. You can notice the story forming and choose not to climb inside it. You can feel the pull of anxiety or resentment and simply name it. Anxiety, resentment. The naming itself creates a small gap, a moment of seeing before reacting. In that gap, there is freedom. Suffering loses some of its power when you stop treating it as an emergency. It is uncomfortable, yes, but discomfort is not the same as disaster. You can be with unpleasant sensations without needing to fix them immediately. You can let sadness move through without building a whole identity around it. The more you practice this, the more you realize that you are larger than any single feeling. You are the space in which feelings arise and pass. Gratitude becomes possible here, not the forced kind, not the kind that denies difficulty. A quiet gratitude for the fact that you can notice it all, that you can breathe, that awareness itself is available even in hard moments. You do not have to feel grateful for suffering, but you can feel grateful for the capacity to meet it without being destroyed. The path does not end. There is no final arrival where everything is solved, but there is a deepening, a growing ease with the way things are, a willingness to be present even when presence is uncomfortable. This is enough. This is more than enough. If you are still listening, you have already done the work of paying attention. You have allowed these words to settle, to move through you without forcing anything. That itself is practice. The willingness to sit with ideas that do not promise quick fixes or easy answers. The patience to let understanding grow slowly in its own time. You can return to this anytime, not because you need to be fixed, but because the mind benefits from reminders. It benefits from hearing again that suffering is not personal failure, that impermanence is not punishment, that you are allowed to be human, to struggle and still be walking the path. If you would like to continue, there are other reflections waiting, other angles on this same quiet work of waking up. But there is no urgency. You can sit in silence now if that feels right. You can let the stillness speak. Whatever comes next, may you meet it with a little more space, a little more kindness. May you remember that you do not have to carry everything alone, that the breath is always here, that awareness is always here, and that is enough. Rest now if you need to, or continue if the heart is open. Either way, you are exactly where you need to be.